Welcome to another episode of Gaming News. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Microsoft, which recently bought Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion, and are now claiming that they want to keep Call of Duty on the PlayStation. Now, this seems to be an attempt to quell panic from fans of the series who are currently not gaming on the Xbox. But the question is, do they mean it? And by they, I mean Phil Spencer really mean what he is saying about keeping this franchise on the PlayStation. As history shows, these kinds of announcements from Microsoft do not always end up being true in the long run. We'll talk about this and what the odds of the deal being approved by regulators looks like. And so, from Adrian's Corner, I am Adrian, and our episode starts now. So, in a recent update on the subject of the buyout and what this might mean to exclusivity of titles currently controlled by Activision Blizzard, Phil Spencer finally shed light on Microsoft's plans for Activision Blizzard gaming franchises that are currently shared across multiple console platforms. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, of course, has triggered a lot of nervous sweat among PlayStation-owning Call of Duty fans, with questions flooding online asking the question, would Call of Duty releases in the now not-so-distant future become an Xbox exclusive? Fear from Call of Duty fans on the PlayStation aren't unfounded, as in a previous acquisition, Bethesda Softworks, games like Starfield and The Elder Scrolls VI became exclusive to Xbox and the PC, with PlayStation and its gamers being zeroed out from having access to this game on their console of choice. Now, up until recently, Microsoft publicly had said that it would honor all existing commitments to other platform holders after the acquisition is complete, and that they have no intent to remove any content from platforms where it exists today. However, in a tweet posted on January 20th, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer was more explicit about the Call of Duty series, at least. He said that we had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. He went on to say that Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship. Now, on the surface, this appears to be good news for the Call of Duty community and not terribly surprising. For now, at any rate. Bethesda's RPGs are once-a-decade games, while the Call of Duty series is, for now at least, an annual event, making it a major, regular revenue stream. And that's not taking into account Warzone, the live game battle royale. Cutting that off just to hose a competitor on hardware sales wouldn't necessarily make sense at this juncture, especially since the current console generation is barely a year old. And while some Xbox fans might consider it a win, such a move would anger many fans within the community. And then there is something else to consider. Microsoft might be stepping softly for another reason. You see, back in the late 1990s, when Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy as a company and only survived thanks to Microsoft swooping in to invest $150 million in non-ownership stock of the company, a move that would shape the future of all things tech, Microsoft themselves faced a serious battle with the courts when they were sued by the FTC in 1998 and were initially ordered to break up, but the order was overturned on appeal and a lesser penalty was eventually negotiated. This is something I am quite sure Microsoft will never forget. And so, with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard set to make Microsoft the third largest gaming company in the world by revenue, there is concern that the buyout could face opposition from governing bodies over potential antitrust violations. Now, antitrust violations, monitored and enforced in the US by the Federal Trade Commission or the FTC, are intended to promote competition and prevent monopolies. In 2020, for instance, the FTC filed antitrust actions against Facebook, citing its acquisition of Instagram, among other things. And more recently, it took action to halt Nvidia's takeover of ARM, in which the FTC Bureau of Competition Director Holly Vidova said in a statement that tomorrow's technologies depend on preserving today's competition, cutting-edge chip markets. This proposed deal would distort ARM's incentives in chip markets and allow the combined firm to unfairly undermine Nvidia's rivals. The FTC's lawsuit should send a strong signal that we will act aggressively to protect our critical infrastructure markets from illegal vertical mergers that have far-reaching and damaging effects on future innovation. innovations. Now, the absorption of Activision Blizzard will unquestionably turn Microsoft into a gaming industry behemoth. But the general consensus at this time is that it is unlikely to trigger antitrust action because it is a, quote, vertical transaction, meaning a larger company purchasing a smaller one that performs an essentially different function. Activision Blizzard, with revenues in excess of $8 billion in 2020 alone, is certainly a major video game publisher. However, compared to Microsoft, and it becomes dwarfed, as that company posted more than $143 billion in revenues over the exact same period. Now, in an interview with PC Gamer, Kellen Voyer, attorney and founder of Voyer Law, said that antitrust issues typically arise with horizontal mergers, where a company acquires a competitor as these mergers limit competition in that particular market. For example, Microsoft buying Sony, vertical mergers, where a company purchases a downstream company that provides a different function, such as one of its suppliers, may also attract antitrust review. But the anti-competitive nature of the transaction is not as clear, and there's a better chance of passing review on this basis. Now, interestingly, just as the Microsoft Activision deal was announced, the FTC made an announcement of their own on the same day as the Activision Blizzard deal announcement, although supposedly not directly related to it. Now, in this announcement, the FTC said that they are launching a fresh review of its merger guidelines, with an eye towards clamping down on consolidation and diminished competition across US industries. Now, this is interesting because, as Gene Munster, a former investment banker analyst at Piper Jaffray and founder of the venture capital firm Loop, Munster made headlines for telling CNBC's Squawk Box program that the deal is setting up a collision course with the FTC because Microsoft is effectively ignoring signals being sent by the Biden administration. For example, on July 2021, in an executive order, President Biden said it is his policy to enforce the antitrust laws to combat the excessive concentration of industry, the abuses of market power, and the harmful effects and monopoly, and to enforce the antitrust laws to meet the challenges posed by new industries and technologies. However, Munster also went on to say that he believes that the deal will be passed because regulators don't actually have standing to block it, saying that, "I think there's going to be some drama, but in the end, I think the deal gets done. And part of the reason is, I think that a lot of the saber rattling that we've heard from Capitol Hill over the past 2 years, I think it's been off base." In the meantime, though, and back to Phil Spencer's statement on Call of Duty, it is noteworthy that Spencer only mentioned Call of Duty in his statement. Other big Activision Blizzard games, including Overwatch, Diablo, Hearthstone, and Warcraft, were omitted, and now suddenly seem a lot more likely to end up as Xbox exclusives sooner or later. To understand this, all we have to do is look at the statement by Phil Spencer. It's carefully crafted, and the fact that they only mentioned Call of Duty speaks volumes about Microsoft's intent here. And so, the echoes of the past ring clear once again. All we have to do is take a look back to Xbox Chief Financial Officer Tim Stewart, who said back in 2020, when he was asked whether Microsoft would make future Bethesda games consoles exclusive after their buyout, he was on the record as saying that, "We highly encourage cross-platform play, simply from this landscape of, if it's good for the gaming ecosystem, it's good for us. Classic rising tide lifts all boats." And yet, 7 months later, in June of 2021, Starfield was confirmed as an Xbox exclusive, with the Elder Scrolls 6 exclusivity being announced just a few short months later in November. Now, both Activision Blizzard and Microsoft have downplayed consolidation concerns in the immediate wake of the acquisition announcement. We see this in a recent interview with VentureBeat. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick noted that most of the content Microsoft creates has nothing to do with gaming, and Phil Spencer of Microsoft telling Bloomberg that Microsoft is not looking to pull communities away from Sony, with of course the follow-up statement about keeping Call of Duty on the PlayStation. Statements that should definitely be taken with a heavy dose of salt. And that, my friends, brings our episode to a close once more. As always, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. From Adrian's Corner, I am Adrian, and I will see you all next time.